No.
Were you ever required to be alone in your room in the dark?
No.
Were you and Nola allowed to have phones?
Yes.
Were you allowed to play games on your devices?
Yes.
Was Kai allowed to play games?
No. Not unsupervised.
Was he allowed to have a device?
No.
Now, you said that you saw Ty, through your time in Florida, or Ronan, get punished. Did you ever see him get punished for little things?
Yes.
Like what?
For me, it'd be just not answering questions. Maybe he plays a little too rough with us, or he talks back.
When you say he wasn't answering your question, what do you mean?
Let's say he did something wrong and they asked him about it. He wouldn't say anything. He just wouldn't answer them.
And what would be the response to that?
If he didn't answer them to a certain point, he'd be sent to his room. Or if he did answer, he'd still be sent to his room.
And when he's sent to his room, is he then allowed to leave?
No.
Is he locked in there?
Yes, he did leave. I don't know if he was locked all the time, but I know he wasn't allowed to leave.
Did you see both Tim and Tracy force him into the room?
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Make him go into the
Hi,
room.
Cooter
I've
Brown. Hi,
heard both of them tell him to go to
Hey,
his room.
Patty. Hey, Jeff. Hey,
And
Plaza. Hey,
did you see
Karchi.
both Tim and Tracy involved in the punishment and discipline?
Can you be more specific?
Well, there's some things that one person did or the other person did, but were they both?
They were both involved with the punishment.
Now, over time, growing up with your brother, did you notice him become less communicative?
Yes, he shut down.
Okay. Did you notice him over time, especially toward the end, become more withdrawn?
Yes.
Did he smile less?
Yes, definitely.
And that's something you noticed kind of as his sibling?
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about specifically right now the time in Florida. What was your observation about kind of how often he was in the room?
How often he was in the room?
Yeah, did you see him around the house very often?
Not inside the house.
No.
More so outside.
Okay. Tell me about that. What would he be doing outside?
Yard work, moving the outdoor furniture.
So when he's outside, is it like that he has the opportunity to freely play?
No, it's not. It's not for entertainment.
Okay. What kind of yard work is he doing?
At the time we were moving in, so it was mostly moving supplies outside the house.
Okay. Was there some yard work or landscaping involving shelves that he was required to do?
Yes.
Okay. Is that something that you were required to do?
No.
And did you see him doing that?
Yes, I did see him moving the shelves.
And you said that you would observe him outside. When he was told to go outside, did he have the free option of coming back into the house?
No.
How would that work?
So if he was put outside, one of them would know that he's outside. One of my parents would know he's outside, and then if he got done with work, he'd come and wait for them to let him back inside.
Okay, would he be allowed to just come back in?
Not unless someone was watching him.
Okay. And are there times when he'd be locked out of being allowed back in the house?
Yes.
And then when he was let back in, would he then be able to relax around the house, or what would happen?
Not really. He'd either go to his room or just go somewhere to be monitored.
Okay. Now, in your house, did you eat meals with him regularly?
No.
Where would he be while you would be eating?
Most likely in his room.
And what about when you would get home from school? Would he be with you doing homework in the kitchen or the living room?
No, he did most of his homework in his room. I didn't see him very often.
You didn't see him very often out in around the house?
Around the house, yes.
Okay, so when you saw him, when he was home and you were home, for the most part, was he one of two places?
Yes.
And what are those two places?
Room or outside.
Okay. Were you allowed after school to come and go freely around the house?
Yes.
And your mom, was she around during those times of the day after school?
Yes.
She didn't work?
No.
Were there times that the defendant, Tim, in this case, was also around?
Yes.
In the house?
Yes.
Would he sometimes do stuff with either Pierce, you, or Nola? Like after school, would Tim or Tracy do things with you all after school occasionally?
Maybe eat meals. I can't think of.
Okay, but Ronan wasn't with you when that happened?
Not often.
Now, when you say not often, was there 1 or 2 times that he was out and allowed to eat meals?
He was sometimes. He sometimes eat meals.
Majority of the time he wasn't there.
Not that enough that I can really recall.
Now, you, at that time, were you involved in any activities at school?
I was here in
Yeah,
Florida.
here.
I was a part of the marching band and band in general.
Were there some times that you had football games or things that were related to the marching band?
Yes.
Sometimes on those occasions did your brother come to the event?
Not that I can recall, but
Where would he be during those?
if my parents were coming to the event, he might have been with them or he might have been at home.
Okay. And when he was left home alone, when your parents were at your event, was he allowed to be out freely in the house?
No.
So were there family events that you or Nola went to where your brother is left home alone at the house?
Yes.
Did you personally even get the opportunity to see him very often during those 6 weeks in Florida?
Very rarely, like passing outside maybe, or through the window.
Even when he was at home?
Yeah, so I would see him like maybe he's moving yard work and I'd see him through my window, or maybe he did briefly come in the house for food or whatnot.
Now, was there a time in Florida where your brother ran away?
Yes.
And do you remember that happening?
Yes.
Was it over a weekend?
I believe so.
Okay, and what, did you end up staying at, what kind of happened when he was gone? Where were your parents?
So I was left home alone. I believe Tracy was with Nola at a softball tournament, and Tim was, as far as I know, not present in the house.
Okay, so he's out of town, maybe?
Yes.
And you said Tracy left.
Yes.
Where did she go?
I believe she went with Nola to a softball tournament.
Was that like in Jupiter, around Palm Beach County, or was it out of town?
I don't remember.
Okay. But were you home alone
Yes.
while your brother was missing?
Yes.
Were you allowed to let him back in the house
No.
if he came?
No.
Now, I want to talk for a second about another time frame. And Your Honor, now would be the appropriate time to read that instruction.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I have an instruction law that we read at this time. The evidence to be reviewed on FF and YF concerning other crimes, roles, or acts allegedly committed by the defendants will be considered by you for the limited purpose of proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation.
You first lived time too.
So when we first initially moved there, it was Ronan, Nola, and myself.
And then did your parents have a separate?
Yeah, they had.
Your brother and you each had an individual bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. And was your brother's bedroom inside the house?
We're talking about Ronan?
Ronan.
Yes.
Now, how old approximately are you when you kind of first moved to Arizona?
I just finished the 5th grade, so I don't know what the age frame
Okay, so
is.
you're in about the 5th grade?
Yes.
And Ronan is younger than you?
Yes.
So he's in the 3rd or 4th grade
Yes.
at that time?
Oh wait, no, moving?
When you first got to
Yes,
Arizona?
we had just, yes, sorry.
So is it right to say that he was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade
Roughly.
at that point? Elementary school?
Yes.
Okay, and Nola also in elementary school?
Yes.
Now, at that point, you said that he had his own room.
Yes.
That room, was it like an ordinary, regular room, or was there anything different about it?
No, it was basically a mirror of Nola's room.
Okay. Could he go and come freely in that room?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, was there any kind of lock placed on that room?
There was a latch.
Tell me about that.
There was a little latch attached to the top of the door frame. It had a little pin keyhole thing.
So tell me, what does that mean for the person that's inside the room?
He couldn't come out.
Okay, so it could be latched from the outside.
Yes.
Did you see that there were times when he had a room in the house that it would be latched from the outside and he'd be locked in that room?
Can you?
Would he be locked in that room in Arizona?
Yes.
Did that room have a bathroom?
No.
Now, is there at some point a time where he no longer had a room in the house?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When our youngest brother Pierce was born, they had a room built into the garage.
Okay. Tell me about the room that was built in the garage.
No windows. It had no windows. It had an AC unit, a bed, and sometimes a bucket, or sometimes his belongings were in there before they were taken out.
Tell me about that. Was there times, how would that happen?
So like about the items in his room being taken out. If he got in trouble, if something happened, they would get moved out all the way out of his room, or if he had like decorations, when he would get upset, he would take them off the walls.
Right. And when you say they would take everything out of the room, what would be left in the room?
His bed and a small desk where he would do homework.
Now, you mentioned that the room was built into the garage. Was that house the same as the Florida house? Like, was it all on one level, or was it something different?
So the Arizona house?
The Arizona house.
It was all one floor. The garage, yes, had steps going down to it, but it was all one level.
Now, that room in Arizona, did it have a bathroom attached to it?
The Ty's room?
Yeah.
No.
Did it have any windows?
No.
Did that room lock from the outside?
Yes.
Did that room have any kind of smell?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It did not smell good.
How come?
He had his bucket in there, which he would use to go to the bathroom. And sometimes if he didn't have the bucket in there, it would just be on the floor.
Now, were there times in Arizona, like in Florida, where your brother would be in that room for long periods of time?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's roughly the same idea as the one here. When we did it in Florida, he got in trouble, get sent down to his room, but it's more of getting sent down to, more often he was getting sent to the room.
And then how long would he be in the room for? Would it be long periods of time?
It would be long periods of time. I can't say off the top of my head how long.
Are we talking like all day?
Can I just say there were some days that I didn't really see him that often?
Yes. And so if you didn't see him that often, was he like not at the house, or where was he?
He was in his room or again outside.
So, was the situation in Arizona similar in that he spent a lot of time in the room by himself?
Yes.
If he wasn't in school,
I am so confused.
where was he most?
Are we talking about in Arizona?
In Arizona.
In Arizona, outside.
He doesn't even move, so I didn't even know we were paused or on the
Now, we
wrong
talked
screen,
about
for God's sakes.
in Florida, when he's outside doing yard work, he couldn't just come back in. Is that the same in Florida?
Yes.
What would happen? Would he just stand outside, or how would that work?
Yeah, so if he was doing yard work and he finished, he'd come stand outside and just wait, or one of them would go meet him outside. By them, I mean my parents.
Okay. Was he allowed to just come back in himself?
No,
Would the door be locked?
I can't.
Okay, you don't know whether or not it was locked.
I don't
Okay,
know.
I don't want you to speculate. But was he allowed or freely able to come back in?
No, not without supervision.
Okay. Now, when he's outside, is he have under direct supervision there?
No, not all the time.
So he's just kind of out there
So-
by himself?
Yes,
And your parents, Tim and Tracy, are someplace else?
yes.
Now, you said that was roughly around the time that your brother Pierce was born. Who ended up taking over your brother Ronan's room when Pierce was born?
Pierce took Ronan's room.
Okay, so that became the new baby's room.
Yes,
And you said that Pierce is now, how old do you think he was now? Around
4-ish, I want to say.
Okay. So was it approximately how many years do you think was the special room in Arizona? Just an estimate.
Oh, like how?
How long before you moved to Florida was he kept in that room?
So the one in Arizona?
The one in
Sorry.
Arizona, before you came to Florida?
I'd say Pierce was roughly 2 when we got here, so maybe more than a year.
So approximately 2 years,
Roughly.
roughly.
That he's been in a room. That's not in the main
Before
house.
you came to Florida?
Yes.
Okay. And how old were you when you came to Florida?
So moving from Arizona to Florida.
How old were you?
So, oh wait, oh I'm sorry, I think I got confused. Wait,
It's okay, take your time.
okay, so when we moved to Arizona, yeah, I had just finished the 5th grade, and then when we moved back, I was in the middle of my sophomore year.
Okay, so you were in high school.
Yes,
When you came back to Florida.
yes,
And your brother was in middle school.
yes.
Now, we talked a lot about your brother being in the room in Arizona. Were there times where you were concerned about whether or not your brother was getting food or being fed regularly?
Yes.
What would you do when that happened?
If I saw there was a plate for him, sometimes I'd be able to take it and just run it down to him really quick. And otherwise, I really couldn't do anything.
And when you say you brought it down to him, where would you have to bring it down to?
To his room downstairs in the garage. This is Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so downstairs to his room there.
Are there times over the course of when you were living in Arizona that you physically